Okay, hi guys. What's new in Grindavik? And there is again something controversial what they're doing regarding where to find new places for residents of Grindavik to live. And we've heard in the past that they want to go after short-term apartment rentals like Airbnb and stuff like this. And they're saying they need to do something to ensure housing for people who live and work in the country. So there is a dashboard of tourism service, and that states that last summer there were about 2,500 apartments for rent in the southwest corner of the Reykjanes Peninsula. So this is tourism, right? On the one hand, they want the people to come. They want as much tourism as possible. Because, like, for example, before COVID in 2019, there were 2 million tourists coming to Iceland. 1.3 million of them went to the Blue Lagoon. So they have to stay somewhere. So if they are enforcing to take these apartments out of the short-term rental apartment base for tourists, where are the tourists going to stay? So if everything's fully booked, less people can come. So is that what they really should do? Or, we have a saying in Germany, they're cutting the branch that they're sitting on a little bit. They're saying that, earlier this winter, the government has announced measures to control short-term rentals. And they're saying that the situation in the housing market is difficult and that they now need to find ways to ensure housing security for people who live and work in the country. And so they are looking into these rental apartments, and it seems that short-term rental apartments that are operated as hotel apartments, they pay lower property taxes than other businesses in the country. So it sounds like they want to go after that as well. But by cutting these tax benefits, overall in the long term, they will have less housing for tourists, in my opinion. Because then people, if there's no incentive for them anymore, they will probably turn it into rental apartments. And that's basically what they want. So it is interesting to see that. And they're saying that in times like this, everything must be considered because many people of Grindavik live in holiday homes, commercial buildings, and in the homes of friends and family. And while at the same time, like thousands of apartments are reserved for short-term tourist rentals all year round. But, the residents of Grindavik have said that they don't even want the government to basically tell them where they should live. They want to be bought out. They want to have their money out of their homes or properties that are in Grindavik and they are useless. They want that equity. They want to get rid of the mortgages and they want to be free to buy houses somewhere else. And some have said they don't even want to live in the same area on the Reykjanes Peninsula where the same problem might occur again, like in these areas. So some of them want to live somewhere else where it's safer. So I think from what I understand, the residents don't even see this as a solution. And the government has announced that they're planning to buy out the residents. Now it's just a problem of the assessment of the homes. So the assessment is too low in the opinion of the Grindavik residents. So they're saying we're losing millions. We're not getting out of there with enough money to buy somewhere else because Grindavik was not one of the more expensive areas. So now that they have to move somewhere else, it's more expensive. They can't keep the same level as it seems. And, the residents, especially the businesses of Grindavik, haven't given up on the town completely just yet. So the town council of Grindavik is on the side of businesses, and they say they wholeheartedly support the views of the businesses in the town who demand access to the town and regular access and predictable access. there was a resolution of the town council of Grindavik, and it's stated in this resolution, and this resolution was sent to the police chief in Sudurns, the public defense, and other media, and this also states that it is very important to find solutions regarding the accessibility issues for companies so that they can start operations and are being given the opportunity to do so. They're saying right now we're not in an emergency anymore. This is a chronic event. Yes, it is, but it doesn't make Grindavik any safer with that hazard crack collapse. That's the problem. So, but they're saying that situation is no longer an emergency response. It is a long-term event, and companies have now reached the limit of their tolerance, and they need to start creating value again instead of losing their value. And I get it. And so part of that resolution and their appeal, that they're appealing the civil defense decisions and the decision of the police chief of Sudurn, they say, although the situation in Grindavik is serious, a large part of the town is just fine, and there is still an opportunity to keep the companies that are there in Grindavik alive. And they're saying we have learned in the past few weeks and months that between events, some weeks pass where the nature is quiet, and during that time there is enough time to be in Grindavik and conduct business. And they're saying, yes, the safety of people should always be in the foreground, and it is important to check the state of the town and the infrastructure after each event. But immediately after that, companies must be enabled to work in the town from morning to night. They want this to be able to from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. with security awareness and prepared response plans. And they're saying if the town is to have a chance to be rebuilt, the businesses need to keep the lights on. Companies in Grindavik demand that access to the town will be made on a regular and predictable base. And if there is a lack of security in the town, the companies can then decide themselves whether they want to take that risk or not. So guys, let me know in the comments, do you think they have a valid point? I mean, what I think is if all the businesses leave, especially the large businesses, the processing plants that employ a lot of people, if they leave, they have left for good. If they're taking their money and taking the loss in Grindavik and invest in other places, they will not come back because it's too much risk to come back there and then go through the same thing again. So once the businesses have left, what's left with that town? I think then the town is really dead for good. I mean, it looks like that the town is dead for good already because it seems like most residents want to be bought out. There are still residents that say, well, we want to take our time. And there are residents who say, well, you know what? We're living in Iceland, the land of fire and ice. We can take care of ourselves. We have grown up with avalanches, with volcanic eruptions, and we also know about these cracks, and we want to take the risk. So many people say, well, just let them sign a waiver that they declare that nobody is responsible in case something happens, that they can't sue anybody, and then give them the right to use their properties as they see fit. So this is all still in the discussion, and I think, you know, they have to decide. Will we give up the town completely, including the port? And if it seems like because the government has said they're not buying out the businesses as of yet, they are paying the businesses some money for lost revenue, but they also said they won't do this forever. They're working on plans maybe to do more for the businesses, but right now the buyout plans, it's all residential only. So I think since they kind of hinted that they maybe want to try to keep the port open and keep business operations open, I think they have to make a decision quickly because the businesses are right. How long can you live like this, not having your business going, not making any revenue and having all these employees on the payroll. That's why the businesses are taking people off the payroll. Just last week, 130 people were taken off the payroll. They said you're not fired, but you can come back should the situation change. And now another company has taken 22 people off the payroll, and I get it, right? So time is of the essence. It's time sensitive, and there is one resident. His name is Magnus Gudmundsson. He's a building contractor and a builder. He's a master builder. And he lives in Grindavik, and he says he has built a number of homes in his hometown, and he wants to move to Grindavik. He says there is no future in Grindavik if the employees all leave, and I think he's right. So he says he has built every other house and almost all public structures, gymnasiums, schools, fish processing plants. And he says he has worked as a carpenter since he was almost 12 years old. And he says it hurts him to see what's going on with his hometown right now, because he has lived there for 46 years. And he says the condition of his property is decent, and he says the house is a little damaged, but it's just a little sparing and stuff like that, and yet he still has to empty the house. And he says, I just don't really see a future here when all employers are going away, and if they go away, there is no point in being here. And this is true. The companies have reached their limit. He says the town is just being slaughtered. He has confirmed the purchase of an apartment in another town, and he says that he and his colleagues, they're forced to make such decisions about where to live. And he says, it seems to me that the decision has just been taken out of our hands and has been made for us. And he says, it seems to me that the Public Safety Council is just doing that. And he says they're just cutting off all the companies here, and we've been kicked out of here. That's what he's saying, and that's how he feels. And he owns a business right in Grindavik. It's a carpentry workshop, and he says that the business owners in Grindavik are very unhappy with the arrangements in the town. And he says, we have nothing to do. We have no business. Nothing's happening, right? And he says his woodworking shop, he said, we should never have had to close. And he says, although it erupts somewhere above here, we could have walked away from this eruption. So this is completely crazy what people are doing. The town has just been slaughtered. I agree they can walk away from the eruptions, and unless there is an eruption as close as it has been in January 14th, that fissure that opened and burned the 3 houses. Had that fissure had a lava that had flown as fast as the one in the last eruption, then more damage would have happened to Grindavik. But still probably enough time to get out if the eruptions are nice and stay out of the town center, which cannot be confirmed. There is a risk that it might erupt into town. But still, once the earthquake swarm happens, there might be a little time. But what's the risk is, as soon as the earthquakes start, more fissures, more cracks, more sinkholes might open immediately, like the hazard level crack collapse. And that's the danger, because if you have to evacuate in the middle of the night because you wake up from all these earthquakes, the roads might already be damaged, like large cracks or sinkholes, and that's what's the risk. But he says with the bill that is now introduced to buyout residents, he says he's quite satisfied on that bill, on the government's purchase of the homes in Grindavik. But he also says, well, maybe everyone would have liked a little bit more money, and we're not getting anything, for example, like street construction fees or our land or anything like that. And they also took 5% off of their fire compensation assessment. He says, of course, it's not enough to buy something else on the other side of the peninsula, like towards Reykjavik. or even like Keflavik or along the coast or something. And he says that is quite clear and simple. The people are just being forced into buying small apartments or go to the rental market. And I wonder, yeah, they're buying out the homes at 95% of the fire insurance. So yeah, if your home burns down, the fire insurance pays you something. But who owns the land? Who owns the land? Do the residents of Grindavik still own the land then? I haven't heard anything about that, but I've been wondering about that too, because the fire insurance doesn't really cover the land, just the structure that burns down. And the natural disaster insurance basically pays for repairs of homes. And if your home's a total loss, then they give you the money and you can buy a home somewhere else. But are they buying your land too? Maybe in cases when the land is also considered a total loss because there's a volcanic fissure right going through it. But that's not the case with all properties in Grindavik. So I think that is something we need to follow over the next few weeks. And then you might remember the Journalists Association of Iceland has started a court case to sue the state for access to Grindavik. They want access too. They were really angry that they have been cut off basically since November 10. The police chief of Sudurns has said, well, yeah, one of your guys was running around in Grindavik after it had been evacuated, and he was trying to get into a private home, trying to get pictures probably from the damage. And the people of Grindavik felt violated, and I'm totally with them. They didn't like this, and that's why the police chief of Sudurns basically acted on behalf of the residents, and he restricted the journalist access to only like not even a handful of times since November 10th, and accompanied by rescue teams, and they didn't allow them to run around freely. So there were scheduled press events, and the press is angry about that. They said, we need to document disasters. We're going to war zones and other areas. We can be responsible for ourselves. But on the other hand, the people of Grindavik are saying, hey, wait a minute, right? You don't allow me to access my own home because it's too dangerous. So I can't get my valuables out, to my life out of this home. But the press can stand right on the edge of a crack and take pictures, but I can't access my own town. So they have a point as well, right? So they have taken this to a court hearing last Wednesday, and the judge basically told them, hey guys, you should reach a settlement. Let's not waste more time, resources, and money to take this to a real court case. So now the Icelandic Journalists Association says that they will consider a settlement in the case against the Icelandic state. But they want clearer rules and a justification for the decision of the police chief in Sudurns why he's denying the access to Grindavik. So they're saying, we will try it, as the only thing we care about is getting the rules, make the rules clear, and tell us why you made these decisions, justify your decisions. And if that is achieved without going to court, then they will agree to a settlement. And they also point out that, they're saying we've been trying to negotiate since November, but we have never received any answers from the police chief or the Ministry of Justice. And that's why we went this way and filed a court case. And they're saying if we get clearer rules and reasoning for these decisions to keep us out, or these decisions are being invalidated or not implemented in the same way in the future, then we have achieved the results we intended. So my feeling is a little bit that this will be only possible in connection with giving more access to the residents of Grindavik and the businesses, because I think as long as they are restricted, they will put pressure on the police chief of Sudurns to not give more access or more free access to the press. And I side with them on that because, you know, it's either one way or the other. Of course, you can argue and you can say, well, it's public safety. Nobody should get hurt. The press, they're always in danger zones. So that is something else, right? So they're basically considered like the people who document disasters, wars, or tragic events, and they go into the line of fire. So I don't know what is right, guys. Really, leave me a comment. How would you, if you were the police chief of Sudorns and you could make a decision, who would you give access to and how? What would you do with the businesses? How would you solve that problem? I don't really have a clear answer right now. It's a very difficult situation. So let me know, guys. Thank you so much for watching. There'll be more updates very, very soon. Thank you for your support, guys. You're absolutely awesome. And I love all your comments. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for the supers that you keep sending me to support this channel. And of course, the coffees you keep buying me on my buymeacoffee.com website. The link to that is in the description. Check out my post section. It's totally free. I'm posting regular updates and maps and everything that I find interesting about the Grindavik events, but also other events. And check out the 2 videos in the end screen. There was an update about the super volcano Campi Flegrei and Vesuvius in Italy. So scientists are worried that both might erupt at the same time because they share a magma chamber. And don't forget, in Iceland, they're thinking, well, maybe it's 6 different volcanic systems, but when they were watching the 3 Fagradalsfjalls eruptions and compare them with the current eruptions, there's also theories that these systems might be connected with one magma chamber. So is that good or bad? I don't know. We will probably learn in the next few weeks. So thank you so much, guys. I hope to see you soon. Please leave this video a like and subscribe, of course, and check out the 2 videos here. Bye-bye.